Alright, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Thursday Bookmap stream, November 30th, 2023, 1 p.m. Eastern. And before we get rolling here, we gotta do the disclaimer. Let me turn off the music. There we go. Material information and presentation is for educational or entertainment purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice or recommendations. Any and all statements made on this channel are the sole opinions of Options Millionaire channel and should not be taken as financial advice. No financial decisions should be made on this material shown here on this channel. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and not suitable for all investors. Any investor could lose all or more of the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one financial security or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Trading is one of the riskiest, most difficult tasks one can undertake. It must be approached with extreme caution. Do not invest any money you cannot afford to lose. Good stuff. Be responsible. So, what do we have here? NASDAQ wants 850. There's a couple of reasons for it. One, obviously the bookmap tells us to, and we love the bookmap. Bookmap has had this 15,850 liquidity pulled down here with a very negative CVD on NASDAQ pretty much all day. ES, same equivalent. 45, and a substantial amount of icebergs coming in on the tape. When's the last time we've seen a very high activity in icebergs? November 9th. What happened on November 9th? An extremely bearish day. So there's a lot of activity in the sell side of icebergs here, not to mention negative 32,000 CVD. In addition to this little cat down here, 15,850, we are going to take a little reading rainbow trip over to NASDAQ. Where'd my NASDAQ go? There it is. And we're going to go to the daily chart. Or you know what? We'll go to the E120. I like the 120 better. Shows a little bit more detail. So the NASDAQ also has, right in this 15,850 area, all this support from last week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday night. Every day last week, except for Monday, we had a test of 15,850. So obviously, there's a whole bunch of sell-side liquidity down here that we need to take care of. And we tried to come down there. We're kind of hovering about it. 15,848. What I anticipate happening this afternoon is a little bit of breach lower, test the level, bounce back up, and then flush. If you want to take a little bit of a scalp long off of that, so be it. Probably going to be a good area to have a small bounce. Little less confident on that play now that we've had a 50-point bounce on NASDAQ from this area, or a 40-point bounce on this area. So I won't be looking for stuff as aggressive as long after this area this time around. Even still, watch that area. In addition, 15,850 right there. It all ties together. It all makes sense. It's almost like it matters. Until then, there's not really much going on. We've been chopping for, a little bit of relative range here since 1040 after the big push lower. Coming on down. Bookmap is there. I'll turn this back on the 5-minute up here. But that's all I've really been doing is watching for this 850. I actually had a resting open order sitting just shy of this, like an 845. It didn't fill, obviously, the first time because of the big bounce. So other than that, I'm going to look for a failure to play down to it, which would be 50 points on NASDAQ. Nice little move. And then haven't really been paying too much to ES. I played a SPX contract earlier. Didn't. It was a nice little profit, I suppose. But it definitely did not do as good as I hoped because the price action is extremely slow. I recently started using TradeZilla to track and log my trades. I was wondering if you have looked into the platform. I haven't. I personally use an Excel sheet to do my trades. A little bit more red, 893. trickling back off. See if we could have a move lower, 15,892. SPY equivalent to NASDAQ is QQQ? Yeah. Yep. And then the SPX equivalent is NQX. You can do NDX. NDX requires a lot of capital. So NQX would be the SPX equivalent. So I think patience is good here. Just kind of waiting for this thing to trickle off into the afternoon sesh and then pop this 850. I don't know if it'll do it now or if it'll do it in the afternoon post 2 p.m. session, which usually picks up a little volatility. Little bit more red. However, if you do take a short position, I would encourage you not to exit the position just because you're profitable. I think I would gun for this 850. I would enter a position and just set a stop and don't touch it. Roll the stops down with it. That's what I would recommend. How do you calculate your R&R in monthly and weekly? I look for any anticipated moves. I look for the actual levels themselves, the major pivots around the market, and how many touches there are associated with volume tells me strength. Now we're coming off here nicely, and I'm going to do exactly what I just told you. Just roll my stops. Roll my stops. Diamond huevos. 15,883. We have a nice little extension away from the 910. Can we get down to 850? That's the whole theme for this afternoon. 850. Microsoft is coming off. XLF and the XLV have been supporting the ES very nicely today. It's been quite difficult to short the ES because of it. NASDAQ has been substantially more bearish and moving a lot more noticeably than ES. So, nice little move down finally. There's another red push. All right, good. So the seller survived that auction. We see that nice little sell imbalance hit. The buyers defended, and then the seller said, "No, I'm good. Thanks, bro," and continued on down. Let's go for 860 first, an overall target of 850. Once I'm about 30 points in the money, I will roll my stops down to about 20 points and just take 10-point risk profiles off until we're 850. Once we're 850, I'll tighten the stops way up for anticipation of a absorption of 850. Exactly what we did this morning. So far, this price action is kind of mimicking yesterday. Not quite as bullish on the afternoon before the reversal, but yeah. Now I'm going to roll down. $875. Gunning for 850. Gunning for 850. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a speculative long off of 845, 83, or 835, somewhere in there. I do think they'll hold it up there a little bit. But with the initial bounce at 863, it could have taken out some of that demand. We'll see. I might play it cautiously. All right, push down a little bit. There's a big red. Roll my stops down to 880. Yeah, it's too aggressive. I don't like 880. 885. 885 is the good prior bounce, so I'm going to stay 885. Now I can guarantee myself about 15 points no matter what. If this pushes down under 870, I'll rotate down to 880. But I want that 850. As long as we can survive the 870 bounce, I think 850 will pretty much be guaranteed within the hour. 878. Still watching for every time there's an attempt of buyers, we need the sellers to overcome. And so far, they're doing a great job of that. CVD continues to build lower. Let's take a look at ES as well. ES still has 45, 45, so we have confluence across the two. Not to mention, we still have our overarching target down to 8. Like this down here is 850 we talked about. So we still have to wipe up. We've already taken care of last week's highs. Now we need to take care of last week's lows. They're just kind of wiping up the order book back and forth, which is what consolidation is supposed to do. Consolidation is supposed to absorb that's the whole point, to absorb the order book and prepare for the next move. Top wick back off, which is great. Let's try to get down into 850. Beautiful. Pretty slow though. Oh man. There's another red push, 872. Once we hold under 870, that's when I'll roll down to 880 for stop. And then I'm going to look to breach under 87 and down into the 85, and that'll be our final push. Here's the thing where it gets interesting though. If we get down to 850 and we don't have any kind of bounce into power hour, my thesis for power hour is red, because we've had a very green week. Month-end allocation, they're gonna have some pressure and profit taking. That's where it's going to get interesting, because if they hold at 850 into the bell and they start really driving lower into power hour, where's the bottom? Because we start taking out last week's lows, and now we start eating up the gap. And that's going to start bringing us down into the 15,700 area, which is my overall target for this cycle down. Do I think that'll happen today? I would be surprised. That's a huge move. What's my bookmap settings? I have rhythmic data with MBO package on the Global Plus. And what you're seeing here is the stops and icebergs indicator on chart and subchart. Does the end of month work inversely as well? If we had a really red month, do you expect a bounce? Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with OPEXs too, except for different reasons. A little bit red. $872. So my thesis is still the same as this morning. Coming on, grab. There's not really much else to talk about. If you're for these two names in particular, we could talk about a little bit of CL, which is another name I'm looking at. If we can get down to 74, which today doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We got down to 75 after a large liquidation event off of the upper 79s. But other than that, 74 is my next touch on CL. XLF is still doing its thing, of course. Yeah. We still have a whole bunch of green in the X sectors, which is the whole reason why I'm not touching ES right now. ES does not want to give out 45.50. They've been on a nice little steady downtrend, but Very slow. I think there's a lot more opportunity with NASDAQ futures today than SPX products. There's a whole bunch of relative green. Getting a better understanding of the stop loss feature. Yep. Stop losses are your best friend. Use them. Another green candle top wick. Good. Just waiting. What's your favorite trade platform? IBKR, Interactive Brokers. It's in my opinion, it's unmatched in execution and customization for that matter. No other broker allows you to customize your complete trading experience. Fantastic broker. Still hanging out, 8-7. Is it just me or the day's getting like shorter than usual? I feel like it's getting darker even earlier than normal. Top wick, so that's a tweezer right there. I like it. That's a textbook tweezer right there. I like it. That should get us moving down to this area. We were talking about tweezers this morning. That right there is a tweezer. I like it. What's up, Michael? How you doing? Been following on Discord? Try to get in touch. Beautiful. I appreciate you coming hanging out with us. Used to live in New York. Darkness at 4:30 p wasn't fun. Yeah. Well, I figured, we still have, it's what, November 30th, and it's getting dark at 4:30. And I mean, heck, we still have 3 weeks until the shortest day of the year. What is it gonna be, like 4 o'clock, 3:50? Apocalyptic level jargon. There you go. Still waiting for this final push. Very slow price action. Notice you want what are the few, I can't remember. A few Smart, I said that? Trader sees VPA. Yeah, VPA is, well, I've always been a price action trader. It wasn't until I discovered Anna Coling that I started bringing in the volume element. And that to me was the technical light bulb moment. The technical light bulb moment where I can understand why moves are made. And that aspect of understanding volume helped me understand the concept of liquidity, which literally it's all connected. All volume is a representation of transacted liquidity. It helps you understand that all this is an auction. It's a complete manipulated auction, every bit of it. Nothing matters except where to buy and where to sell. Where do dealers want to buy and sell? So, yeah, I love it. Can you tell me exactly? Well, that's what we try to do every day. Understanding, though, that the market is meant to entice you to buy so it could dump it. The market is meant to entice you to sell so it could rock it. Why do you think everybody has the problem with taking calls at the high and puts at the low? Because that's what it's meant to do. They have decades upon decades of algorithmic data to calculate based on investing behavior, not just retail jabronis like me and you, but buying in general, the market buying and selling in general. Once you understand that, there you go. Do I like trading in the zone? Absolutely. That's my second favorite book, trading related book. Anna Coling, Complete Guide to VPAs first, and then Trading in the Zone second. Who was that Anna person and what is in her book? Anna Coling, Coulling. She is the author of Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. That's probably about $20 on Amazon. You could probably get it for cheaper for the Kindle version, but it's fantastic. I also have a YouTube interview on my channel that I did with her a couple months ago. Very insightful. Yeah, for Forex trading. She does a couple of different books. She's got one for crypto. She's got one for Forex. Yeah. Nice, Daniel. Very cool. So it looks like they're going to wipe out these tweezers, not push us any lower. There's no volume on there, so I guess there you have it. XLF is going back up. Very slow price action at the moment. Wiped it out. Bought it on Kindle a few months ago when I was on YouTube. When I was a YouTube OM person. Nice. Yeah, great book. All right, so that's a rare tweezer fake out. I would attribute that to the fact that we had virtually no supportive volume to the downside here. So the buyers just kind of said, nah, I'm good. And all the way back up, and that stopped me out. Back to break even. So unfortunate, but no, 10 points in the money. I moved it down. But there you have it. Not getting to 850 just yet. A lot of that going on today. I got back for 75% of my $200 account. What'd you do? IWM gave up a perfect reversal example of Anna's book about an hour ago. Nice. Does somebody want to buy me a Trading in the Zone so I can set up my game? If you have Spotify, it's actually free audiobook right now, Michael. Now they're going to dump it over. Top week. So, definitely worth the cost of admission for Spotify if you to just go listen to that book. Still hanging out 980, 880. I'm going to read the Trading in the Zone after WPA. Nice. For Bookmap's heat map, how do you have higher confidence that red bar will hold? It's a couple of different things. So I don't just blindly go for liquidity zones like that. It has to be reasoning. In this example, yesterday was the liquidity sweep, which is step 3 of Anna Colling's distribution phase, which for me leads me to believe that we are about to transact lower. We wiped out last week's highs yesterday, and I think today we need to wipe out today's lows, or the last week's lows, which is right at 850. So I think there's a reason why that liquidity is there, and it's correlated with ES. ES has that the 45, 47 level that's on there. So I do think, not to mention the buyers have had an opportunity to defend all day and they can't get it off of this lower level. So, not to mention end of the quarter, or I'm sorry, end of the month, I think we are going to go down to power hour. I do think that'll breach. Maybe in power hour, maybe the last 10 minutes of the day. Unfortunately, I won't be able to trade power hour today because I'll be at the dentist. Top wick. Now we're going to roll it back over. Puts on the dentist, yeah. What do you consider power hour? Why do you call it that? Power hour is the last hour of the day, which is 1500 to 1600 Eastern Time, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Last hour of the day, that's typically when the afternoon volatility peaks, and a lot of traders start to enter the market. They usually trade the first hour, last hour, and that's it. You get a lot of momentum, a lot of price action movement, the ability to make some money. If you're a gambler, you can make a killing on 0DT options, although I would recommend not doing that. The red dots that you see, the numerical red dots, those are stop orders. They're also represented on the bottom of the dark red line. The little bitty squiggly red line is the CVD. The blue line is icebergs. Payback for all those Drill Baby Drill comments. Yeah. Could you explain how to use Bookmap to find price targets before you enter a trade? Yeah, so the liquidity I want to correlate with my targets on TradingView. So I'm going to zoom out to the hourly and 2-hour chart and look for major pivots and targets that I think the market's likely going to go to. And then if that correlates with Bookmap, in addition to the management of the open liquidity, so if I see them continuing to add liquidity, then I'm going to use that as a target. That's why I'm so gung-ho on 850 right now, which now it's only set 20 points down. But I want it to make sense. Does it make sense that there's open liquidity there? $15,871. SPY. S2 is a big level as well, which correlates to that bottom liquidity right here. $71. That was a look. This is even a smaller. Like I tell you all that distribution works across all time frames. Well, here you go. You saw it on the 5-minute chart. The initial formation of the high, the retest, and the sweep. The sweep goes higher to stop everybody out, like it just stopped me out, and then it dumps. So that right there is a textbook 3-step distribution on the short time frame until we transact lower. Now you take this out, you take this and zoom it out to the daily chart, and you see what's happening on the daily chart. Initial formation of the highs, multiple retests, and liquidity sweep. And then dump it. Stop everybody out, get everybody nice and bullish. Heck yeah, to the moon, LFG, all-time highs, baby. And then slam it. That's a 3-step distribution right there. 64 still going lower here. Gonna wipe out that iceberg, grab that, and this may be the final attack on 850 here. There it is, 862. Boom. Here it comes, 860. Wiping out last week's lows. There's S2 on SPY. I see, Joe. How'd you do, buddy? Riding his baby down? There's an S2 bottom wick perfectly. Right on it. Trend lines, yeah. Scary accurate trend line today, isn't it? Ridiculous. Right there, look at that. It's almost too perfect. Man, look at that S2 bounce. On the money. What is an iceberg? Icebergs are hidden orders. So an iceberg is called an iceberg because when you go out in the ocean, as we can all, as the Titanic figured out, is that when you see an iceberg floating in the water, you only see a very small portion of it. The vast majority of that iceberg is underwater where you can't see it. So icebergs are the same concept. When I see an iceberg pop up on the screen, that tells me that there's some fat cat out there who puts down a big order, who does not want, for one reason or another, does not want the order flow to know how the extent of that order. And it only transacts at certain pieces, certain amounts. $15,872, big old bottom wick. Big old bottom wick. Look at that. Money. 877. All right. So that is a bit of a double bottom here at 861. An aggressive move off with a volume spike off of 861. Again, missing my open limit order by about 10 points. And a 30-point bounce on NASDAQ. Apple rocketed. So for my subscribers, I post SR levels. I post these levels every morning. The bright highlighted levels are the levels of significance of which you need to pay attention to more so than the others. The ones with the little plus signs. And we just had a one touch right on it. My significant level lower, S2, with the plus sign. Rocket ship. Still waiting for the 850 grab overall, but that's a heck of a bounce right there. Yeah, I missed my limit buy by by 11 points. I had it at 845. I was hoping for a breach through 850 then bounce, but didn't quite get there. This is going to be a difficult one to get through. It's going to require active selling. Right now we have just sustained selling here into this lower level. In order to get below this liquidity, we're going to need volume. There's no other way around it. Because when you initiate a downtrend, in order to initiate a downtrend from a strong uptrend, you have to have active sellers, which means big volume, which means insiders are preparing to move the market lower. They're transacting to move the market lower. Nice, Maddie. Well done. Can you switch to ES for a sec? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This came on. We have another iceberg right back on, and this 845.43. Overall, we're right back inside the chop zone now. You're welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here, buddy. How do you handle when a stop order is jumped over? If you're ready to get out and your stop doesn't trip, then you could do a quick market to get out. You're going to get the worst fill possible if you do that, obviously. Or you could just reset the stop or set a limit. It all depends on how desperate you are to get out. All right, 453 here, 45.51. Overtraded, ended with 0.29 port instead of 1.46. Yeah, it's been a slow one. Is there any way to lessen the likelihood of that happening? What broker do you use? The first thing I would say is get you a quality broker. I don't know what broker you use. I use IBKR. I've never had that problem. If it is going to happen, I'd probably say around some sort of news catalyst where there's incredible volatility. took a 50% today after a bit of losing streak the past few weeks. Not sure if I get lucky with the trend or not. Nice, BSW. Yeah, it's good to reverse a losing streak like that. TD Ameritrade. Interesting. Yeah, try out another broker if that's the case. And depending on when it was, maybe it was a catalyst, but so there's really, not to be too quiet, but there's really not much going on here. Everything is all centered around this lower liquidity. There's no other liquidity on the books right now. Nothing. It's just this 850, and the ES has this, and that is it. They're not adding anything. They're not managing. There's no volume. The buyers aren't hitting other than small bottom wicks. It's just really waiting for this liquidity to be filled, and you just got to be patient. I think we might end up going back up to VWAP. Liquidity on sell says no. Yeah. Well, another red response. Another red response. So I still think that's going to happen. I still think down. Any prediction on SPY and Q closing? Red. I think we'll breach below that 45.45. Now, once we get below 45.45, I don't know. I'll have to see how they manage liquidity. They put on a new level. Haven't been up in a while. Have to catch up with your new screens. Thanks for what you do. What's up, Ken? How you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Yeah, so I've got Bookmap on the left and then SPY on the right. A lot of divergence on several time frames. Consensus is rug pulls coming before center rally. Who knows? Yeah. I think down into the 4400s and 15700 before up. Do you only trade options? I use futures as well. I trade options and futures. And I have a pretty robust stock portfolio. Coming back off. Yeah, Tesla has their Cybertruck released today. It's been a long time coming. Boo. A little bit of Yeah, tell me about it, Vampire. Very slow action. Very slow action. I'm looking forward to this pullback into 4400s for sure. When is the best time to use futures versus options? Like today, do you choose both options and futures? I had an option this morning, but now it's purely futures. So anytime that there's choppy action like this or very slow, you got to go with futures. You're not really going to do well with options. Theta is going to take too big of a hit, especially if you're doing short-dated options. Now that's where it takes like trading style and a little experience to determine when to go on and off of options. I realized pretty quickly in the day is it an options day or a futures day or a mixed, and it's you got to make the decision early because I hate, options is one of those things. The most aggravating part of trading options is when you're correct, but you still lose money, and that's because of theta. That just the move happens too slow and you don't make money. There's only two times in your life that you're correct and you're still wrong. One's in options trading, and one's in your marriage. Today's been a good day to play NVIDIA. Yeah, and of course you can play single names. Yeah, like John there playing NVIDIA. What would affirm a downside move after buyer stepped in on low volume? This move right here, red response. So we had the green bottom wick back up to 15,890, 880, and then the sellers immediately come back in and roll it back over. That's what you want to see. The buyers continue to test, and then sellers just wipe it out with no volume. Was hoping that truck would raise this price action up. I was wrong and forgot to add a trailing stop. NVIDIA puts them in wild. Yeah. NVIDIA is down 3.3%, the biggest loser of the day. Getting wiped out from 465. And that right there will, that's down what, 50 points from that new all-time high set on earnings? And they are making their way downtown. Let's go to NASDAQ. Interesting chart here on NASDAQ. This is that big support I'm looking for this week, or today if we breach. We finally broke the bear flag. Coming on down, we've got this 8.3, 8.4 range to hold the support. We give that out, we have a whole bunch of gaps to fill lower. We have this liquidity gap down here. Where's my box? We have these liquidity gaps down here. Over and over. Got another one. All the way down. Bottom wicks, left and right that we need to clean up. Unbalanced books, that's all this is. Completely unbalanced book. Left for the taking. Look at this. Ridiculous. Pretty much all of this is unbalanced. All of it. No seller activity whatsoever. That's entirely unbalanced. Entire day of unbalance. It's just, look at that. When it comes time for NASDAQ to retest this level, it's going to be just as aggressive through this as it was to the upside. The red candles through this will be just as strong as this green. Once it actually does get down, it's going to take a bit. I'd say March, April, because my anticipated path is retrace to here, base for a little bit, come back up into this area. In this area. Because what this will do, retest the July's highs, consolidate, liquidity sweep. How'd that happen? Liquidity sweep up in this area, and then March, April, right about here. That's my thinking. And that'll start eating up all this stuff down here. Here's another pressure down. NASDAQ is still going for this 850. Is imbalance a P structure for volume profile? Yeah. I was an AMD 122 puts but closed out break even, then ran 75. Sometimes that happens. So once we give out this 8-5-5 little bounce, double bounce we've got going on, then we'll have that quick liquidity grab 850, 845, 840 on NASDAQ. But we're still bottoming. This is now a third bounce off this area. We're also coming up on the end of the hour, which we'll have to wrap up. A little bit of red. DXY squeezing hard. V recovery in jeopardy. Yeah, I don't see a V recovery today. I think the opposite. Not today. Maybe a recovery tomorrow. I don't know. Overall, I'm looking for mid 4400s. We'll see how we close. Do I think it's possible to trade solely off of fair value gap? I don't. Like I said, I'm a believer in volume, price action and volume. I think the fair value gaps is a great way to identify liquidity zones because it shows that there's a completely unbalanced book that loves to be filled. But I think you need volume, in my opinion. Does anyone have a bad print on SPY daily, weekly? They have tipped their hand. Let me take a look. Other than the atrocious gaps I see on SPY, I don't see a bad print. Anyone looked at the SPY daily chart lately? Most horrendous daily chart I've ever seen in my life. Look at this. Looks like someone took a shotgun and blasted the daily chart. Like, where did these candles go? Let me go back and look at the daily chart and find me a chart with those kind of gaps. That one right there has got a couple of gaps, gap downs. Atrocious. Right here has got some gaps, November 2020. Look at those gaps. Terrible. See a massive wick on stock charts. Went up to 475. Ooh, that's a big move. That'd put us right at all-time high levels. All right, I got 3 minutes left till I have to shut the stream down. That's going to be my hour allocated. Any questions, comments, concerns? Again, I'm still thinking 18 or 15,850 and then 44.7 or 44 whatever this liquidity level is here. 44.45 here before anything else. I do think because it's the end of the month, we will have red into power hour. A little more red there. Are those levels you provide on the Discord? Yes. These SR levels. Any thoughts on NVIDIA and Tesla? I think NVIDIA overall is going down. Tesla is the weakest of the bit, but they have a little upside potential. I don't look at them too much. My SQ and PRC 401k are up 5.7. If anyone's forecasting the market could sell off, highly recommend checking to see if your company allows self-directed. Okay. Yeah, very cool. What do you think the market will go tomorrow? Assume you'll wait for the morning check. Yeah. So I need to see today's close to really look at tomorrow. When you're in this distribution transitioning into markdown, you can kind of see where it's going, but it takes patience. So we do have obvious signs of distribution here. If we can get under 45.40 and close under, then we have the risk of entering the lower 4500s tomorrow. I think we're a little too high to get into the 4400s this week. I think that'll happen next week and then the bounce. But I think we got to stay under 45.40. A close under 45.40 will wipe out the auction that's occurring there and free up the charts for 45.20, 4500. Again, we're not really seeing too much movement. There's not really much volume. So you can't ask for too much yet until you see the volume, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. They just doubled down on 45.44 here. So you see that I think there's still plenty of activity, not to mention a negative 35,000 CVD. We're going to get it. Iceberg comes on Bookmap here and another push for 850. Are you describing Wyckoff? Well, yes. Now, I teach Anna Coling, who derives her teachings from Wyckoff with the introduction of volume as well. In my opinion, the reason why I talk more about Anna Coling than Wyckoff, because Wyckoff, in my opinion, is a little too confusing. I think it doesn't need to be. If you go look at the Wyckoff methodology, like the description of distribution, it's like a 15-step process to just analyze distribution. I think it's too much. I think it's very difficult to analyze. I think a lot of people have issues trading the Wyckoff simply because you've got like 15 different things to look at. Whereas Anna Coling just breaks it down into simple selling climax. That's it. Of which you can really divide it up in three phases on a distribution. The initial formation of the high, the retest, and then liquidity sweep. I think that's pretty easy to apply and to look at. But to answer your question, yeah, it is derivative of Wyckoff, yeah. All right, y'all. That is 1 o'clock. I got to call that a day. I have to head out here too. I don't think I'll be back before power hour because of my dentist appointment. So I most likely will be stepping away for the rest of the day, but I'll keep an eye on my phone as they're drilling my face. So let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central for another Bookmap stream. Until then, I'll see the normal people back tomorrow morning for another day of trading. Y'all have a good rest of the day. I'm out. See ya!